Hi everyone, I'm Miss Sharice. I am a P4K book buddy.
And I'm her daughter, Lily.
She is going to join us for our book reading of Manfish, a story of Jacques Cousteau by Jennifer Byrne. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to my friends and book buddy pals over at Fontenelle Elementary. I really miss you guys, but I hope everyone's staying safe and well. So I'll just read the page and then I will show you the picture. Manfish, a story of Jacques Cousteau by Jennifer Byrne. Bubbles rising through the silence of the sea, silvery beads of breath from a man deep, deep down in a strange and shimmering ocean land of swaying plants and fantastic creatures, a manfish swimming, diving into the unknown, exploring underwater worlds no one had ever seen and no one could ever imagine. Our story starts many years before in France with a little baby boy born under the summer sun. His parents named him Jacques. From the very beginning, little Jacques loved water, the way it felt on his hands, his face, his body, and water made him wonder. He wondered why ships floated, why he floated, and why rocks sank. One day, Jacques read a story about a man who hid underwater by breathing through a long tube. Jacques tried it and discovered it was impossible. He dreamed that someday he would be able to breathe underwater for real. At night, Jacques dreamed he could fly, with birds among the clouds, with his arms stretched out like wings. Jacques spent his days playing, experimenting, and creating. He wrote little books that he illustrated with his own drawings, and he was fascinated by machines. He studied blueprints and built a model of crane that was as tall as he was, and it actually worked. Movies fascinated Jacques too. He wanted to know how they were made, how the cameras worked, and how chemicals made pictures appear on the film. Jacques saved his allowance, penny by penny, until he had enough to buy a small home movie camera. The first thing he did was take it apart and put it back together. Then he began to film everything around him. He put his brother, cousins, parents, and friends in his movies. He dressed up as a villain with a painted-on mustache and made some very villainous films. Jacques was always the star, the director, and writer, and usually the cameraman. When Jacques finished school, he joined the French Navy. His ship sailed all around the world, and everywhere he went, he filmed what he saw. In China, he filmed men catching fish with their bare hands. They held their breath underwater for many minutes. Jacques wondered what that would be like. One day at a beach, a friend gave Jacques a pair of goggles with rubber frames and glass to look through. Jacques wore them into the ocean. Beneath the water, he was surrounded by silvery green forests of sea plants and fish that he had never seen before. Everything was silent and shimmering. It was a whole new world. When he came up, he saw ears, people, buildings, and telephone poles. Once again, he went below into the magical underwater world. At that moment, Jacques knew his life was changed forever. His eyes had been opened to the wonders of the sea. Jacques and his friends, Philippe and Didi, began to dive together. They experimented to see how long they could stay underwater and how deep they could go. Jacques created a waterproof case for his camera to film the amazing kingdom he and his friends were exploring beneath the surface. They made rubber suits to keep themselves warm and flippers to help them kick better. But Jacques wanted to stay down longer than just one breath at a time. He realized he needed to take more air with him, enough air to explore the mysterious depths and vast expanses of the ocean, to swim through the seas as free as a fish. He wanted to become a manfish. And he began to work on just how to do it. On a warm summer day, Jacques stepped into the blue Mediterranean Sea with his new invention. He called it the aqua lung because aqua means water and our lungs are part of our body that holds the air we breathe. Below the surface, Jacques swam and glided and dove. He did flips and somersaults. He stood upside down on one finger and laughed bubbles into the sea. Jacques could breathe beneath the water. Now he could swim across miles of ocean, his body feeling what only scales had felt, his eyes seeing what only fish had seen. The water made him feel like he was flying, just like in his dreams. Jacques had done it. He had become a manfish. Jacques was ready to explore the oceans of the world. He needed a boat and found a big old wooden navy ship called Cousteau. In a year, he turned it from a warship into an explorer ship. Jacques, Philippe, and Didi gathered a crew, their aqualungs, their hopes and their dreams, and set off to explore the inside of the sea, to film a world that had never been seen before. On their journeys, they dove deep into a seascape of plants, green and purple prickly plants, red branchy plants, spongy plants, wispy feathery swaying plants, slow dancing rhythms to the sea. They discovered plants that could feed you, plants that could poison you, plants that looked like fish, and fish that looked like plants. They swam with giant whales, hitched rides on sea turtles, and made friends with porpoises with shining eyes and smiling faces. They filmed fierce and frightening sharks, so strange and dangerous, Jacques and his crew had to build cages, not for the sharks, but for themselves, so that they could make their movies without being eaten. Everywhere the Cousteau went, Jacques and his crew made films of what they saw, films that played in movie theaters, films that played on TV. Millions of people all over the world discovered the wonders of the sea for the very first time with Jacques, Philippe, and Didi and their new adventurous crew. After Jacques spent most of his life making movies about the sea, he saw something happen, something shocking. Plants that used to be alive and healthy were being poisoned. Fish were sick and dying. Jacques saw that people, without realizing it, were slowly killing the sea and its creatures by dumping garbage and poisonous chemicals into the ocean that he loved so much. Jacques knew what he had to do. He had to make movies to warn people, and movies to save the sea. Jacques also spoke to presidents, to kings and queens, to people all over the earth, asking them to help save our oceans, our planet. And he spoke to children. Jacques dreamed that someday it would be you, exploring worlds never seen, never imagined, whole new worlds shining and shimmering, worlds that are now yours to discover, to care for, and to love. The end. There's an author's note here. I'll read it real quick. Jacques Cousteau was a remarkable person, truly one of a kind. He was a protector of our planet and its creatures, an inventor, adventurer, and explorer, a poetic writer, and a spokesperson for the sea. He was also an innovative filmmaker and photographer. Most of all, he loved life with childlike sense of joy and insatiable curiosity. His rallying cry wherever he went, whatever he was exploring, was all thought, au revoir, which translate roughly as we must go see for ourselves. I think it's a wonderful way to start just about anything. I feel fortunate for all the time I spent in Jacques Cousteau's world while researching and writing this book. If you'd like some more Cousteau in your life, here are a few ideas. And then there are suggestions on Join, Cousteau's films, Cousteau's books, the marine world, caring for our planet, and following Cousteau's lead. The last suggestion is to get a camera and start photographing or filming what interests you. Motivate your family and friends to start caring about the world and its creatures. Above all, I'm sure Cousteau would agree with this, follow your passions and follow your dreams. One last bit before we go, it was suggested that we share an invention that we couldn't live without or that we're super thankful for. Do you want to share one? You can think about it. I know an invention that I'm super thankful for would be cars. I think it'd be super difficult to get around to everywhere that we need to go with our busy lives without one. How about you? Refrigerators, that's an awesome one. Back before they had, when they didn't have refrigerators, you had to get a block of ice and put it in your ice box. Anyway, that's it for us. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.